Hello. Well, this is a reply to comments by Thou Art That, and I'm going to remind, as I often do, that when Thou Art That was Red Light Rocket, he was one of the first people on YouTube I saw that made me think, oh my God, people are actually discussing philosophy and interesting things here. I think you have a very rational sort of um, non materialism. You are willing to apply rationalism to the what are otherwise might be considered as the speculative side of things, um, making it less speculative and more just an assertive opinion you have. And in general, I think you really should understand by now. Um, Not that you should already have, but I'm saying what you know enough about me to understand by now that you can call the material world spirit. I mean, look, the quantum field is weirder than a spirit. It's more dreamlike than any spirit entirely because it is so strange and yet it's material and stuff really does manifest out of it. So I don't really care what you call it. Materialism to me is not whether we call that stuff dream stuff or quirks. If it behaves like quarks and it's made of dream stuff, and then quarks is just a name for a kind of dream stuff, that's all equivalent to me. It makes no difference. It's like expressing the terms in French versus English. Those languages are not so different and they've commingled so that, yeah, one might say one thing from one angle and one might say from another, but ultimately you can say the theory of relativity in either language. I'm sure there'd be interesting subtleties to the differences. And I'm into discussing those, and I do discuss that kind of difference. But also, I claim a spiritualism, right? In the sense that I don't believe in metaphysics, but I believe there are, it's like I don't believe in metaphysics, but I still believe in love. Why? Because I feel love. I've had to live with love and lack love and all the parts of love that you get, right? So I have a theory, philosophy of love. Why? Because I'm living with it. What if it doesn't really exist? It's something called love exists. I'm trying to figure out what it is. There's the thing too. You say we don't really know what matter really is. We only have our concepts of it. Yeah, I don't. I, I think it's a chance to understand what I'm saying. That materialism is about qualia. It's a claim. Materialism is a theory that there's a that a subset of our um, qualia explain are consistent and explain the fact that we can uh, have interpersonal, you know, transmission, which is hard to justify, but we seem to be having these successful sharing of facts and whatnot. And the whole shared reality needs to be explained in some way. It doesn't matter if it's a shared dream or not. I mean, the most important part about it being a dream is, are you saying that other people don't have independence, don't really exist, or what? Because if you're sharing the dream, well, what the hell is the difference? If we're in a dream that follows the laws of physics, then what's the difference how you call it? Look, but more than that, I am a natural philosopher. That's my basic thing. That's how I've arrived at skepticism and relativism. I want to follow nature now. That's why this comment is offensive. Um, not in any like, oh, I'm offended sense. You know what I mean? It's just it's offensive to the sensibilities of my particular I don't want to call it a religion, but my sort of spirituality. Um, and I didn't take offense at all. I'm just telling you it in those terms because that's the reality of this. Is that I don't mind people. I don't even really like people necessarily to know or want people to know, uh, or not know, or I think it's a very personal thing, but it might illuminate our differences to understand in what sense this is offends my sense of what's beautiful about nature or what's worth living or anything like this. What's beautiful about being a thinking, living creature? You say whatever is doing the thinking in us, the conceiving, the science, that activity is not simply natural, not simply a bundle of neurons. Not simply natural. I don't understand how you could say what's simple about nature. Nature is infinitely complex. If you look at a little tiny part of it, it's infinitely complex. If you look at the whole thing, it's infinitely complex. It's multivariate and astoundingly pattern rich, and yet there's never patterns for a whole. They're always partial and stop fitting and not simply natural. What is so simple about nature that we say that? It's not, it can't just be nature. It can't just be nature. Every time I've ever walked in a forest or a jungle or by the ocean, I just thought, I never felt like, oh, I'm too much for this place. I'm way too complex. You know, the way my dog behaves, way too complex for this place. To me, that's all nature, though. I wouldn't, it is nature. Just by its being there, I'm just naming all of that stuff. And then how it behaves can't be the way I saw it be. See, it's not just a logical belief, it's that I love nature. I love nature. And I don't love it in the puppy dog worship kind of thing that some on here try to put that down as. Nature's harsh and it's without morals. And I like building a bubble of a human condition that we could extend out that would be fair maybe someday, like we have in many, limited cases. Maybe they could spread out and we could help the world be fair, but even so, we wouldn't make, the law of the jungle exactly moral or fair. There's a there's sort of an amoral justice or sense to it all and justification, but be that as it may, I see that the good of a fair human being dealing with other people fair in a healthy way, that's a part of nature. That's a bubble of nature. That's a pattern. It doesn't extend out to the whole thing, but no patterns do. I love nature. I think everything, every idea, every form, every bit of my being has grown up around it just to exactly its shape. I mean, I'm just exactly grown into its shape and just this beautifully fitting kind of work. And what I want is for it to be as beautiful of a fit as possible, while still expressing the shape that I want to be. So I'm willing to chisel away at nature to change its shape if I want it to be a certain shape somewhere. And I consider that the beauty of having a will. I ask these questions and I'm interested philosophically, but it comes to something like that. I'm just thankful that it is that way. And it's like, oh, but is it really that way? Well, okay, it seems that way. I'm thankful it seems that way. And you say, not simply a bundle of neurons. And it's the same thing. I've always known about neurons, but in my lifetime, we've learned a lot about what the brain, what they really do in different kinds of neurons. And, there's lots of wives' tales and just wrong stuff. And not simply a bundle of neurons. I mean, we know what neurons are now, and they're more amazing than we thought. We used to think, oh, they're just like little electrical. Well, no, more like living little creatures with millions of conversations going on, and it's it's just amazingly beautiful. The more you find out about them, more. Well, who thinks that when you look more and more at neurons, you get something more and more simple and simply and not? It's just amazing how this stuff goes together on every level. It's not simply a bundle of neurons. It's beautiful. I love that that's what I am. I'm made out of that. That the strings, those are me. It's coursing through there. I don't have to be something else invisible. I can be that thing that can be seen, touched.